crime in our communities and to help motivate our youth to stay away from that. I came from a pretty rough neighborhood in Washington, D.C. Our mayor wasn't doing a lot of very favorable things out in the public eye. Mayor Barry, who I still have a warm place in my heart, but it was a pretty rough city to come up in. And having a vision, you know, for a better life was something that was extremely important. Just to not fall by the wayside. And I'll tell you, one of my very first experiences with law enforcement, by the way, I thought I was going to be speaking to a group of kids today. So the whole Vivica Fox and me coming in the last minute, yeah, it was kind of last minute. But I'll do my best and try my best to share a little insight about me, and hopefully we can get to know each other a little better. But my first experience with law enforcement, I'll never forget this. I was in the 3rd grade. And it was with a police officer who, to this day, I don't know what his real name was, but to us, his name was Officer Friendly. And Officer Friendly would come by and talk to us about, you know, doing the right thing and staying away from bad things. And we got to see a series of videos. You know, hey, I'm 39 years old. It wasn't videos, it was slides. We were looking at slides. But, you know, you got to see the effects of drugs, not only in our community, but the effects that drugs have on people. And it really it shocked me and it frightened me. It seemed like something that was not worth whatever the good moment that people said it gave you. It just wasn't worth what I was seeing on that screen. And then they took us to the police precinct, our local police precinct, and they gave us a tour of a place that, you know, once we left there, we realized I don't ever want to end up here. I mean, they even took us inside a cell, shut the cell, let us sit in it for a little while. And I'll tell you, the day that I do have children, that's something that I intend on doing. I don't know if they still do that, but that's one of the most memorable moments I had in my life, because at a very early age, it showed me that crime was not worth it. That no matter what temporary satisfaction or quote-unquote achievement you might think you have in that point in time, it's not worth the long-term repercussions and the discomfort that you have to go through to achieve it. So I was sitting in the back and I just put together some points, and I figured, how do I tell a room full of experts, people who deal with crime on a day-to-day basis, the realities of crime on a day-to-day basis, how do I address you and give you something that you don't already know? So I figured, maybe instead of trying to teach something, which is normally what I do when I talk to kids, maybe I can just remind you of some things, and hopefully I don't put you to sleep. I've been up flying all night to get here, so if I fall asleep, you know, in Hollywood they call it exhaustion. We all know it's a lot more than just exhaustion with a lot of them folks, but, you know, we'll just call it exhaustion if I end up, you know, falling asleep. If you fall asleep, we'll just call it that too. But I think, you know, one of the most important things that we have to have as a community, because, you know, as law enforcement, you're on the front lines. You're dealing with it day to day. And I'm sure that what you see is very, very different than the vision that we have for the world that we want there to be. You know, so it's reminding ourselves of the difference between vision and sight. What we see isn't very pretty. We see the realities of a community that's struggling to get ahead and dealing with a lot of the adversities that are unfortunately in place. But slowly but surely, you know, for everyone that climbs out, they need to reach back. We need to reach back. That's vision. Knowing that what you all are out there doing on a day-to-day basis is appreciated, even though you may not necessarily get the thank yous. You know, one thing about my job is we get thank yous. I was able to meet a 97-year-old Buffalo soldier when I did this movie with Spike Lee called Miracle at St. Anna. And it was about the Buffalo soldiers in World War II. how it's a story that hasn't really been told. And when I was on a tour promoting the film, I got to meet a 97-year-old Buffalo soldier, one of the few. There was only a couple left. And he thanked me for the film and for the portrayal that we did. When I was at T.D. Jakes, he had an Easter celebration right after we filmed Jump in the Broom. And he invited a lot of the cast members to come down and celebrate Easter with him in his parish down in Dallas. And as I was leaving his home, a brother in a plain suit pulled me to the side and he said, "Hey man, you know, just between me and you, I'm a U.S. Marshal, and I just want to thank you for what you do on your portrayal of U.S. Marshals on Breakout Kings. You know, it's happened to me several times. I've met Marines who appreciated, you know, the film Jarhead, and I get thank yous. But, you know, growing up, you see law enforcement, they come, they do their job, they give their everything, and very rarely, very seldomly do you see them get a thank you for what they've done. But just know that you are appreciated, you are very necessary, and for those of us that have been able to, you know, get out of the neighborhood, you are appreciated. And to this day, I thank the law enforcement in my neighborhoods and in my city, because I know there are a lot of situations that I wouldn't have made it out of had you all not been present and your brothers and sisters not been present there to help the situation. So I want to take the time out right now to say thank you very much. Another thing that we need is patience. You know, it's tough. I know it's tough. You know, you're working 12, 15-hour days. You probably hear a lot of the same things over and over and over again. And when you show up to mediate a situation, a lot of times you end up getting blamed for it. But it's just frustration. You know, not just frustration for what happened, but frustrations for circumstances. Frustrations that I'm sure a lot of you share as well, that you have to hold and not express because you're there to be professional and do your job. But we all need to remember that patience is something that in the immediate is hard work, but the payoff is a lot bigger in the end. When I talk to kids, I always remind them about patience. You know, that $10 or $20 sack that, you know, you might be able to sell right now to get you some shoes, you know, but then it might land you in jail for the next X amount of months, and now you can't get a job because you have a jail record, and that'll always stay with you, or years of your life are stripped from you. Had you had the patience to just work hard and delay that gratification, I get shoes from Nike for free. But when I was coming up, those Jordans did look tempting. But patience. If you have patience, everything comes in due time. Another thing is gratitude. You know, one thing that we sometimes, when we're dealing with so much stress and drama, we forget how blessed we are. Everybody in this room is so blessed. I mean, we really have to thank God every day because we have been chosen. Each and every one of you here has been chosen. You didn't just end up doing this job because it has good benefits, or because you can give a future to your family, or because you're good in this or that. You were chosen. The situations that God brought you out of that didn't allow you to sink in, like the hundreds of people that we see every day, you were chosen to lead and to help. And you wouldn't be in those positions if there wasn't something very unique and special about you. If there wasn't a special light inside of you that God said, this is going to be one of my angels on earth.
One more time.
And I'm going to utilize you. And no matter how many things come your way and try to distract you and demoralize you and beat you down and make you angry and upset and make you think that you are not worthy and try to drag you down into a situation where you become part of the situation. But if you just remember that you have God's light, and then you get to go home to a much better situation at the end of the day, it will remind you that we are truly blessed people.
Yes, yes.
And no matter what confusion and chaos is going on around us, the light that God gave us, we're there for a reason. And you all are there in these harmful situations for a reason. To bring that light to that situation. And 5, service. You know, we're all here to serve. At the end of the day, we're all here to serve. On my way in this morning from the airport, I learned about the hotelier here in Orlando, Mr. Rosen. And I heard about, you know, the programs that he has for his employees and, you know, sending their kids to college at his expense and all of this other stuff. And it just reminded me that we are all here in some way or another to serve. You know, even if it's a word of encouragement, you know, and I try my best to utilize my public persona, the fact that kids do recognize me, and use movies like Avatar and Fast and Furious and things like that to capture their attention. And once I got them, just share a little bit about what got me out of the hood and what kept me from making stupid mistakes. You know, one of them was my Cuban mother. She had a mean right hook. And she used it a couple times. And when I started getting big and I knew karate, which I was too scared to ever even think about using it. But, you know, she used other means, belts, whips, all kinds of stuff. So when I watch these YouTube videos of these kids complaining about their parents beating them down, I'm like, man, you don't know what a beat down is. You gotta have an international beat down in multiple languages to know what a beat down is. My mother, one time, I snuck in the house. It was late. I had like a 12 p.m. curfew, a 12 a.m. curfew. She let me sneak in the house, get to my room, close my door, and I had on my, you know, the hinges. I had them oiled because I knew how to keep her from waking up, or I thought I did. And I had just got my black belt. She let me get all the way in the house and in my bed under the covers. My mom ran. She had to have ran. Because all I remember is my door flying open and she's in a Bruce Lee. Holes in the air. And she reminded me, I don't care if you do have a black belt, I run this house. And commenced to whooping right behind her. If she was here right now, I'd get another whooping for that. She hates it when I tell that story or any of her. She's like, why do you make me seem, you make me out to be this angry woman? All I did was beat you down. I'm like, no, Mom, trust me. It's people like the story. It's good. You didn't beat me down. But it's cool. But you know, service. We're all here to serve those that have less than us. And, you know, more than anything, all of this, unfortunately, involves a lot of hard work. Work that, regardless of whatever you're getting paid and whatever benefits that you are receiving, money will never, ever surmise the effect that you have on our community. And I hope that at the end of this conference and at the end of this convention, you leave here motivated and enthused about what it is that you do, because unfortunately, I know a paycheck isn't enough to show you the effect that you have on others and those around you. It'll never be enough money in the world that will show the good that you are doing for Orlando and its surrounding area. And I just want to say that I'm here because of the effects of the positive effects of law enforcement in the city of Washington, D.C. And I applaud you for everything that you do. And whether you get the thank yous or not, just know that there's a little kid somewhere that hopefully one day will be up on a podium like this. You may not even hear his thank yous, But just know that what you're doing is truly changing a lot of people's lives. Thank you so much. On the schedule, it said we were going to have a Q&A. I don't know if that's still part of the plan, but I'm open to whatever. Oh, okay. No Q&A. Thank you so much. God bless you.